That's it. We are back and live. Hard work getting all of these streams done, and all of the work and all of the dogs and all of the food. I hope you liked the networking break. I hope you had lots of conversations, lots of food, drinks, and I hope that the food and the drinks that we prepared for this event is actually meeting your taste. If you're still hungry, then why is that? After this break, remember all of the food that you find in your fridge, as well as all of the drinks that you find in your fridge, are fair game. We spared no cost. This is what we provided for you. That being said, now that we are back on stage and that we're back in this glorious Victorian theater, now we can actually continue with the next session. But well, let me, as we are starting a couple of minutes late, let me actually have something there on the live stream, which is the theater, the actual theater, because otherwise nobody can see what we're referring to. The live stream just consists of the faces and of the shared screen. Now here we can see the whole theater. So if the theater can jump or actually start with a proper applause for our next speakers. And our next speakers are here. Those are Nara and Carlos, and they are going to speak about validating objects with object entries with Expression Builder. So yes, another talk on those, how would I say, replacements or other features that step in for Service Builder, if you like so. Both of them are front-end engineers on the BPM team, which basically uniquely qualifies them to speak about these Expression Builder validations with objects. So with that, give it up for Carlos and Nara.
Thanks for introducing us, Olaf. Carlos, can you share the screen?
Can you see it?
Yes, it's a little tiny for me, but I can see it.
I can make it bigger, a little bigger, like this.
Okay, the audience can already see the Carlos' screen, right, Olaf? Okay. Again, thanks for introducing us, Olaf. Carlos and I participated in the development of objects validations feature. So we are really excited to show you guys how you can use this functionality to ensure that the data users are submitting to your object entries are in the exact format you are expecting. So Carlos will present to us a use case we created to showcase these validations.
Yeah, that's right. So we thought about creating. Oh, let me reload the portal. We thought about creating a transportation, like a data model with objects that represents a transportation business. So for that, we had to create some objects. They represent entities or assets, resources that this transportation company has. It needs those resources to make its business. So we created so the driver, the vehicle, the route, and the trip object. So this is basically what we need to transport something. You need a driver, a vehicle, and a route, so you know where to go. So let's take a look at each of these objects and what fields we created in them. So in the driver object, we need a driving license type because there are specific driving licenses for some kinds of transportations, the name of the driver, the email, the age. I'm talking about those last four fields in the bottom. The other fields are just system fields, which are stock fields you get for free when you create a object. But we are not going to use them now. So those are the fields. Let's start creating a entry. Let's register a driver so we can start transporting stuff. So let's look at drivers here, and yeah, let's register a driver. So his name is going to be Carlos. That's me. Um, let's no, Carlos. Carlos is too old. Let's say Michel. No, not Michel. Let's say I don't like it. Marcos. Okay. So uh, Marcos is 18 years old. He has a Type C driving license, and his email is Marcos at I don't know, gmail.com maybe, and let's save it. Oh, so we have here an error which says driving license type must be D. So there is a validation going on, and we're going to take a look at this validation, which is the validation we created for driving licenses type validation. So let's take a look at this.
Okay, this is a view we have for validation inside the object. When we click in a validation, an existing validation, we have this first tab for basic info. You can activate or deactivate your validation. And the trigger event for now, we only have the on submission event. Going to the second tab, Carlos, please. This is the view of the expression builder, and I'm going to talk about it soon. And if you scroll down, please, Carlos, we have the error message, that message that was displayed when Carlos tried to save the entry. The expression builder we are using here to create this validation, it's a integrated editor we have in Liferay to compose rules, to compose validation rules using these items we have in the sidebar at the right. We have, could you go up, Carlos? We have, for example, the fields of the objects, both the system and custom fields. We have operators and functions that we can use to compose the validation rule. So in this case, we are validating the driving license type field of the object driver. So to compose this validation, we could click in the driving license type field that we have in the sidebar, use the function is equal to that we have below, and compare to the D, lowercase d letter. Maybe you can be confused because in the entry we have the uppercase letter D. But as this is a picklist type, we are not going so deep about field types here, but this is a picklist type, and we need to compare to the key of the item of the picklist. This is why we are using a lowercase d on the validation. Okay, and down below we have the error message I already showed you that will be displayed in the case that the validation is not met when we are trying to save the entry. So we can return to the entry, please, Carlos.
Okay, so we need to have a D type driving license, and now we can save it. Oh, now it gives another error. Email address is not valid. So there is a validation for email address as well. So let's take a look at this too.
Yeah, this one is pretty straightforward. It's just a function we have out of the box at the sidebar that is already ready to check if a field value is an email. This is only used for text field types. So we just use this is an email function, and we pass the name of the field as a parameter, and it will return to us if the text in the field is a valid email address. We can go back now, Carlos.
Okay, so let's fix this and enter a valid email address. And then I guess now we can save it. Oh no, there is another error. It is driver must be at least 21 years old. Well, this is a kind of a policy of this company. We don't want uh, very young people to be the driver, and we set this age check. And let's take a look at this validation here.
This one's very simple also. We are just comparing the age with the parameter, in this case 21, and we are using the function is greater than or equal. It's pretty close to the way we are accustomed to comparing numbers. So we just use this function, pass the name of the field, and pass the parameter, and we have the validation for the validity entry. We have the expression for the validity entry, which is with age greater than or equal 21.
Yeah, that's right. I guess now we will be able to
Yeah,
create
finally.
finally. Uh, and there we go. Now we have a driver. Okay, there is a driver, but we still need other stuff to transport.
Before Carlos, could you return to the driver, please, to the validations of the driver?
Oh, sure.
Just a detail that we wanted to share with you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we made those three validations, one validation for each field that we wanted to validate. But we could also make one validation for the entire entry. So we could just concatenate all the validations that we did before, all the expressions that we did before with the operator and. This is one of the forms that you could do it. So if it's an issue for you and we want to use just one validation, you can do it. But keep in mind that the error message will be a little more generic because you won't have the control of what field is being validated at a time. So in this case, you can use one validation, but it will be just one error message. So it's up to you to decide what's the best way to do the validations. You
That's
can
right.
go to the next subject, Carlos.
Okay, so let's take a look at the vehicle uh, object. Uh, this one, we have a three fields: the license plate, the model, and the date of manufacture. So let's create an entry, or let's register a vehicle for our transportation company. And let's say, I don't know, maybe Mercedes XYZ. Uh, License plate, let's say it is like this. And the date of manufacture, maybe it was manufactured in 2009. And let's register it. So it's saying my vehicle is too old. Oh, okay. Let's take a look at the what validations. I'm sorry, this is not the right menu. Let's take a look at what validations are being applied to uh,
Entry.
the vehicle object entries.
Okay, for this one, we can see that we have a validation to check if the date of manufacture is a future date compared to that date we have between double quotes, the 1st of January of 2010. This is maybe a policy of the company as well, that the vehicle used to do that trip cannot be older than, uh, cannot have their date of manufacture before 2010. So we are using for this case a function called future dates, and we are passing the date of manufacture field as the first parameter and the date we are having to compare as the second parameter. Okay,
Yeah,
you can go back to the entry counts.
future dates. It's right here. So, okay, so it must be manufactured after 2010. So I guess this is going to work. Obviously not. There is an invalid license plate here. Uh, let's take a look at this validation too.
Yeah, for this case, we are considering that this transportation company is in Mercosul, and it's only using vehicles from Mercosul. So the license plate must be a valid license plate here. So we are using, in this case, a regex to that represents what's the valid license plate here in the Mercosul. And for this, we have a function out of the box to compare regex. And this is the match function that Carlos is showing. And we pass the name of the field license plate as the first parameter and the regex as the second parameter. So we will need to have a license plate with first three letters, one number, one number or a letter, and two numbers to be a valid license plate. Let's try it, Carlos.
Okay, so I guess it's three letters. Okay,
Yeah, I can tell you. It's three letters, one number, one number or letter, and two numbers.
okay, so it works. Now we
Yes.
can register. We just registered a vehicle. There it is. We have a driver, we have a vehicle. We need a route now.
Yes.
Let's make it. Uh, okay. So, all right. So, let's say the departure address is Rua dos Arcos or Arcos Street in English. It is the current address of the Liferay office in Recife. And then we have Rua Alfândega, which is the future address of the Liferay office in Recife. So yeah, we're gonna move to this beautiful building in Bairro do Recife, in Porto
Passa
Digital,
alfândega.
Passo Alfândega, where we're going to work at starting, I believe, next year, half of next year. So great. We are excited. And I'll call this route to the future. Yeah. So yeah, I can save it. But let's say that I made a mistake and I entered the same address twice. If I try to do that, it says departure and destination addresses must be different. And let's take a look at this validation. Here it is.
Okay, for this one, it's pretty simple as well. We are using a function called is not equal to that just uses the symbol that's already very common to us. And we are comparing using two parameters, the departure address field and the destination address field. And with this, we can express that we want that the departure address value is different than the destination address value to the entry to be valid. So we can go on now.
Okay, so now we have a route, a vehicle, a driver. got everything we need to register a new trip. So what are the fields for the trip object? So we have two custom fields. The first two fields are fields from the trip object, the departure date and the arrival date. And we have three following fields, let's call it like this. These fields were automatically created by relationships between the trip object and the driver, vehicle, and route uh, objects. So if one trip can have only one driver, and but one driver can have many trips. It's a one-to-many relationship. So we created on the side of driver. So we went to the driver object. We created this relationship one of type one-to-many with trip, and it created automatically fields in the trip uh, object. So let's try and finally create a trip here. So uh, I can search the entries of the relationship objects. So they will appear as selectable options on these fields in the trip registration portlet. So let's say we want a route to the future. Um, my departure date will be 7th of December, and my arrival date is on the 4th of December. Uh, Marcus, the driver, and I just have this vehicle. I don't have options here, so I will choose this vehicle. So let's go. And there is an error. Departure date must be before arrival date. So there is a validation going on here. If we look at the configuration, here it is.
Yes, this is another example for functions with date type fields. And we already used the future dates function in another validation for another object. And now we are using the function past dates to compare if the departure date is a past date compared to the arrival date value. And this will ensure that the departure date will always be before the arrival date. So
Yeah,
now I think you can create the entry if you update the value.
yeah. So there is no time travel. Still, there is no time travel. We need to go forward. And there you have. Now we have a trip scheduled uh,
And this is
for the.
our final objective in this
Yeah,
presentation.
we met we met the object, and that's pretty much. We wanted to show this really simple use case, and as well this really simple validations, and show how easy it is to build these expressions. We have the sidebar with everything you need, like links for the fields, um, the operators, the functions, is everything here. It's very easy. The expressions themselves are they are very simple. They have a
And
very simple
straightforward,
syntax.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. And you always have Groovy scripts for trickier validations. If you need to, there is this kind of validation that you can create. Yeah, and that's it. Do you want to add anything, Nara?
No, that's it for me too. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
It looks quite straightforward. Surprisingly simple. So from a surprisingly simple from a usage point of view, I might want to say I'll need to phrase that differently. I'll need to put the pronunciation in a different place. So
Yeah.
looks like it's simple to use. How hard was it to implement?
Oh, this is another story.
I thought so.
The user doesn't need to know.
Yeah. So yeah, we work on the front end. So we worked on the front facing features of
Just right now, look at all the love you get.
Yeah.
That's the applause. We can't hear it,
Oh,
but yeah.
it feels great to have those little pixelated hearts floating on the screen. Yeah. So yeah, we work on the front end of this feature. So we built the not the code editor, is actually a code mirror editor that we imported in the application, in the front end application, and we attached this sidebar to the code mirror editor, and there is this functions that transport like the entries from the sidebar to inside the code mirror. It's not very complicated stuff, but it's working great for us.
Okay, that's yeah, good to hear, good to know, and I'm happy to try it out. Oh, and I see a question here. What about daytime? Date time. I guess everybody's arch enemy. Is there a date time
Yeah,
validation?
we still don't have a field of date time type. We only have date type for now.
Hmm. Okay. So, okay, Peter, there's your answer, unfortunately. But I do understand, as I like to
Yeah.
say, aren't we all old enough now to finally agree on a single time zone? That would make life so much easier. But then it's also
But we are continuously evolving objects. So
Yeah.
we are adding features like weekly,
Mhm.
and we might get a daytime field sometime in the future. Talk to Luis. He is the product manager of objects.
Okay. So, okay, now you know whom to stalk, whom to run after. Luis, are you in the audience right now? Can you just show up? Oh, and I see the next speaker's getting ready. Please come on stage and prepare here. That's fine. We can have more on stage. There's more room on stage here for everyone. So we'll start this setup, and please turn around, face the audience. Luis, are you here? Are you here in the audience so that we can see whom to stalk in order to talk
I
about
believe he's
data?
not.
I don't think he is in the audience as well.
Okay, well, with that, let's continue then. Thank you for your presentation, for your insight into the evaluation project. Please promise, as you said, you're developing more week for week. Please promise that you keep it stable. Anything that's in there shall work to eternity and beyond. And so promise to keep that stable, and then please add more and add more. And Peter will be happy if he sees date time
Yeah,
at
we
some
will
date time
do
in the future.
we will do our best.
Yeah, we'll
We
do our
promise.
best to that. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye. And there we are, a little bit delayed, but we can deal with that. This is the internet. We are not tied to space time. We have a different kind of time that we have here. Now let me find my notes here, which is here. We are. Great. It's always hard, like presenting someone is always hard, specifically when I did not really get to prepare it all the way I like to prepare. So let's first do an audio test. Unmute yourself so that we can see, that we can hear you, and try if we can hear you by pronouncing your name first. Like,
Yes. Can you hear me?
yes,
My
well,
name?
only if you make the test with your name.
Can you hear me?
I have not yet heard how to pronounce your name, so no,
Ooh.
not yet.
Yeah. My name is Tainan. Pretty
Tainan.
simple. It's a small name.
Yeah.
So we can hear you.
Not as much as Olaf, but yeah.
And
Jair.
Jair.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, welcome to Dev.24. Welcome on stage. And
Yes.
I would say, without much further, without much further ado, I need to drink something. We have a low code topic with you. I guess that you both are still working in a high code environment in order to make everybody else, or enable everybody else, to go low code.
Yeah.
So we'll see how complicated that part is. The back end or the front end, we'll see what you present here. Make it as easy as possible. Here we are. I'm always moving around my notes, using low code and a proxy to recreate partner portal, which hints at your use case. So you have actually used what you produce in practice, which is a topic that I'm always happy about. It's not just something that comes from the ivory tower and it's like, hey, world, here is something, but here's something, and here is how we used it in practice. So
It's a
without
different
much further
thing,
ado, Tainan and
between a
Jair.
demo and the product, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Take it away, Tainan and Jair.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. We are glad to be here. It's our first time that we are presenting something that we are doing at moment in the Liferay. We are from the solutions team. I'm a tech lead, and then it's a software engineer. We are development moment in the solutions team. We try to be aware about the new features of the Liferay, the new low-code features for the Liferay. We try to use and try to make a product with that. We know that there is a lot of struggle with that. We try to learn every day, and it takes a lot. Everyone needs to help us. The BPM team, the sales engineer team, everyone's tried to help us with that. And that's it. We try to present here a lot of portals that are development for now. We have the customer portal, we have the AVP, you have the partner portal. Both of trees is development try to use the low code process and the low code approach
As much as we can.
Yeah, exactly. And we started with the customer portal, like our first iteration using low code, and you see, guys, that the difference between them, because we're learning a lot about those technologies and those features.
Yeah, let me share the screen here. Like Jay mentioned, we here work on many portals. We're working on solutions right now for Liferay. So we are just rebuilding the customer portal, the customer portal 2.0. And for customer portal, we used a lot of React with objects. And it's all done through site initializer. So to create the customer portal, we just need to deploy it. It's all open source, it's all on the GitHub. And basically, this is a full React app. We use the backend is pretty much almost everything objects. We do have async with provisioning and other features to get users and accounts and everything else. Here we used Clay. We used Dialect to speed up the CSS product. And since we were like testing and figuring out how to use the low code here, we end up using very real components of the low code for the front end. And that's what we're trying to show here, how we evolved with the low code initiative, coming from pretty much a full React app, which is customer portal, to kind of a hybrid. Let me show you guys the partner portal.
Yeah, before we start to partner portal, it's good to comment about the customer portal because we started using the React app, using the remote app for that, like a first iteration for those features. And it was very interesting to deep dive in this feature because we tried to use the extreme as possible. So for example, we have the customer portal that is created using React, using the create React app, and for the partner portal and both Liferay are using the Vite. That's kind of different. It's React, but it's a kind of different. The management rated with the assets for the JavaScript things. And this is what I'm trying to use. We basically have here and this home, we have the customer portal with the banner. This banner can go up. Thanks. This banner is creating use local, so it's a custom fragment that get all those information from the context that the properly Liferay come to us with those information, the testing of the user. And we have the React app in the bottom. That's its management of the data. That's always coming from the objects that you are talking more about this in the next step. And also we are using the custom sync. This is a good example because we start with the customer portal and you create a custom code, a backend code to sync. And I can talk about because this was very interesting also to be development, help with IS team, the Amos Fund, we have another guys to help on that. But basically, it was made a sync between the customer portal that's coming from the XP and the Coronic account, sorry, the Coronic server and provision server that's coming from the IS servers. And we're using the talent to get the information, go to the customer portal. For the partner portal, that was next. It was a kind of different. It was also interesting because we are using a new feature that's the BPM team is working on. And that's it. There's something from the customer portal we can explain more.
No. That's it for CPE.
And that's it. We basically, for the front ends, we try to replicate it. We try to reuse because it's kind of simple. We try to use the dialect theme to be easy to development. And for partner portal, this would be very nice because we basically reuse our assets or code to be more faster to finish the tickets.
Yeah, partner portal was much faster to start up because we used basically all the style books from customer portal. And many of the components we were able to reintroduce here. And the main challenge here was using as much more of the low code as we could, because here in the solutions, we are trying to help develop the initiative, not by making us everything the low code ourselves, but to test the product and to see what it lacks, what it's good, and to give feedbacks to the engineering teams that are working on it. And one of the interesting things that we're using is a different kind of object, which is a proxy. Since this is partner portal, it's pretty much used by some of the folks in marketing and sales team, and they needed information that lives on Salesforce for that. So we were like thinking how we could bring those informations without a lot of custom code. And the BPM team developed a very nice feature for us, which is basically an object. Let me show you an object of a Salesforce type. When we create an object here, we can choose if it's a default, if the information is going to live in Liferay, or if the information is going to live on Salesforce. We use an authentication using the system settings here. I'm not going to show everything because I'm going to leak our passwords and everything, which is not ideal.
A good point about this that we are showing for you guys. All those sites already set up and already working, but we already do this using the site initializer. We have the site initializer that we have a .json file that we can set up every object, every definition to be storage type like Salesforce or the full, and we can set the name need to be the same for the Salesforce to match the data, and we can do this using the site initializer. And now, after finishing, after deployment the site, It just be necessary to select the site, click on, and everything will be set up.
The proxy, the object of Salesforce, is under feature flag. So to create a partner portal, you're going to need to activate this feature flag. And because it needs to create another type of object. But pretty much everything we input in a Salesforce object, it doesn't live in Liferay. It's just a proxy. It goes to Salesforce. What it does, it uses the external reference code here to call an API over there in Salesforce, and we can pretty much create fields here and input the external reference code to Salesforce. Since this is a new feature, it's pretty much simple, but it's enough for us to speed up the process, so we don't have to think much on how we use it. If we need information for Salesforce, we just create the object, we get it. If we need to send information, we post it, we put. It's pretty much working. We have the few APIs here.
Yeah, it's the difference between the customer portal to the partner portal. We don't have the title in the job, we have anything is inside the Liferay, inside the XP. We're just using the proxy to make it happen.
So here, as I said, the challenge was using the low code. Everything here is low code. This is the same model as customer portal. We were able to reutilize this. And also this table is the same one in customer portal. It's a React app here using Vite. We just change the route to the front end so we can get it. We needed it because part of this information lives in Salesforce. Once you create an MDF request with this form that we also develop in React, the information goes to Salesforce and we get the ID back and we save it inside of Liferay so we know what is where. And this is the custom part we are using on Partner Portal. Am I missing something?
No. The point for the custom part, both for the custom portal and the partner portal, all those React app will be deployment using the client extension. For now, and in our development phase and also staging phase, we're using the server that's the proper Vite created, but in the future we'll change to use the client extension because it's the right approach to do it.
Yes. We are also using as much as local. This is a display page template, which is a template that points to an object. Here we're able to get all the information from the object to minimize customization to speed up the process. Every block of this is a different thing. This is a fragment. This is a React fragment. We also have React fragment here on the dashboard. Every dashboard of this is a React fragment. It's basically a React inside a fragment. We are able to do it quicker because we are really done it for other
Can you add the page, please? The React fragment, it's funny because it was a kind of hard to add in the site initializer because we need a different deployment where we need to use the Your Liferay fragment toolkit, and also you can Google it and try to use the documentation. That was really easy to use. And basically the real value here is we have pieces of React code that we can use and drag and drop. So the final user can, for example, change the position of those graphs or thinking creativity things, but it's very nice because we can use for different approach. For example, this is the difference between the React fragment and the remote app. We can do both the same approach in remote app and React fragment, but we try to use the remote app for more something more complex. For example, a table or a complex page that, for example, the test rate to shows for us. And the more simple thing, for example, the graphs, that is complex to do it and using the vanilla JavaScript, we try to use a React fragment for that.
This page was also a challenge for us because every information here should live in Salesforce. It's when a partner registers a new opportunity for Liferay. And when we create here, the guys in IS didn't want that this information living on partner portal. So every time we input something here, it should go to Salesforce and we should list in here. That's why the request takes a little bit to get on the first time, because it's pretty much a proxy going there. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the current moment that we're using this Salesforce proxy with objects and try to use the low-code process to be, and we build this platform very fast compared to the customer portal that have more React different from this one. And now we have the EVP it's kind of different.
And I think to say is that since we're using very new features, we are also opening feature requests to the guys in Objects and BPM. They are also working super hard to help us out. Luis Jardim, we are used to stalk him here in Recife and ask him for new things.
Yeah.
He's used to that. So yeah, let's open the EVP here, which is, as you guys can see, very similar to Partner Portal, because the idea here is to speed up even faster using low code. EVP is a nice example of how we are not using React here. Everything you see is customizing through fragments. And we try here in solutions team do it as much as we can with this project. We're probably going to use it, some React fragment to customize few things, but our hopes is to use it even less to speed up, because we're trying to use code to improve the low code.
Yeah, because it's no code. It's the kind of different.
Yeah. Here we were able to use an application page to create this, also a new feature, I guess, to create the form, because for EVP it was pretty simple. We are remaking the Life is EVP, as you can see. Once we submit it, the information comes here, which is also a Liferay feature. Let me show you. That we are using, which is the container here. What's the name of this?
Collection display.
The collection display. It's a lot of features. Yeah, and this basically helps us to map an object without using React like we're using a customer portal and partner portal. We are trying to use this in partner portal. The idea is to also go back there and implement it once the connection with the proxy is ready. It's going to be super awesome. And yeah. What else?
Yeah, thinking more about this low-code process for us in the solutions team, we try to use the React just when it not be possible to use the low-code, or when don't have the acknowledgement concrete to be used in the moment, because we tried also to study and try to use to create some POC to be able to replicate in our product, both partner portal, both customer portal, and EVP now. And I good to see about the customer portal also, about the objects that they're using, the scoped by account that are using also in the partner portal. That is the different to be a more security data. For example, if I scope it for a specific account, if I'm a user that it can be associated with an account, I can just see the entries for any object that associate with the account. If I have another user for another account, I cannot see the same data. Or using this to be more scoped and to add more security for the data. This is a good point to be remembered here, because for the customer portal it's very important, because we try to manipulate the data that's come from our customers, and we need to be more aware about the data that try to choose here. The same for the partner portal, but it's because the customer portal is more go to the production. And the production is a good point to be talking also, because both of these three platforms, portals, will be deployment on the LXC. And I try to, at the moment, make this happen. We are using also Samuel, as Amanda talked a little bit more early, that we try to use the Okta to be able to authenticate the users, the Samuel and the Liferay, for the both of three portals. So for these three portals, try to use all those Liferay features, as we already knows, and we know that there are a lot of other features that you are try to understand and try to replicate and remove the React to use just Liferay. A good example it can be the announcement, because we our first decision was to use the announcement as a React or a React fragment, but after studying a little bit, we discovered that we can use a Liferay feature with a custom code. Can you show the
Sure.
the design? I think it's templates. Yeah, announcements entry. And we studied a little bit about using the free marker and how to use the Liferay annotation to show the information. And also thanks a lot for the Marco because help a lot to understand and to use the Liferay instead try to replicate in the React using fragment or remote app. And I guess that's it. We talk a lot about those three Z portal. If you have any question about it, please let's talk more.
So there we have it. And let me just briefly, before we go in there, share my screen to see the audience going wild. Already had some conversation in the background, and I gave away the information that any new keyboard or new mouse that is required after this event does not go towards the Dev.24 budget because it has been pounded so heavily. So there must be something on the Brazilian flag that people had for lunch today.
Yes.
So just seeing
Yes.
that here.
We
Good
are
job.
excited.
We have a couple of questions from coming in from community Slack. So for anybody who came in late and is wondering where are these questions coming from, Liferay's community Slack. If you have an account there, you will know where to find it. If you don't have an account there, go to liferay.dev/chat and you get an invite. And on that Slack, you'll find an event Dev.24 channel. And all of the questions there we'll just cover right now. I have to admit that I have had one ear on you and another ear and an eye on preparing the rest of the day. So I have missed this part. Bryce is asking, what do you mean by React fragment? Which toolkit is that? How is that developed? And I guess he doesn't mean like what is React. But most likely you've been in your presentation, so you know what he's asking for, right?
Yeah, sure. The React app, it's an approach that's using the React as a module in the, not a module, but like a component in the page. Different from the remote app that is more complex. You need to deployment and get the right asset. For the React app, for the React fragment, we can use inside the Liferay as a custom fragment. So we have your Liferay fragment toolkit that we can use in our computer basically, and we can deployment not just the React fragment, but for any fragment we can deployment using this CLI and deployment in your Liferay site. And this is amazing because we can use like a component and can use this component to drag and drop and make more different assets and different components to be using the screen, or components that's not be provided by the Liferay at the moment, and you try to use the React fragment for that. I don't know if we answered the question, but this is a briefly.
Yeah, he just said it. Okay, got it. Using the Liferay CLI. That's good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask if you got that wiggle around, but already in the chat. There's a comment from Petter. I guess that is just a comment, not a question. Fragments can have configuration. We use this for React apps also, exclamation mark.
Yeah, we are using this configuration for the React app. You can get like a prop, and it is good because, for example, I don't know if it's very fast, but we have a banner in the partner portal it's dynamically. You can set the title, what's the video link that's showing for the user. It's everything's using the fragment configuration for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And well, I guess the next one, it's again from Bryce. I just went top to bottom. It's probably part of the previous question. Is this a default Liferay fragment, but utilizing React library, which is included? I guess that was already included in the prior answer, right? And Petter, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Petter is asking, stating, would be very nice to have a page fragment permission.
Yeah,
agreed. Oh, now one question, just to try this out, because it rarely happens in setups like my setup here. Hold on a second, I gotta share my screen again. My setup here has us in well, next to each other. So as you can see me now, if I point down, then Tainan could point to me, but you could actually point to each other, right?
Yeah.
So,
You are side by side in this.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's point up.
That was irritating. Yep. There we go. But that was irritating because, Jerry, you were talking and Tainan's the screen went on, so he was on there all the time because I'm glad you're using only one microphone. So,
Yeah.
that irritated me at first, and now I'm thinking about that last. Well, great. Thank you very much for that presentation. Let's prepare. I believe it's Fabian next, but you can stay here for a while because I don't see him yet. If we see him here, then we can continue, or he can prepare. There he's coming. So with that, yeah, thank you very much for for the presentation, and we'll see you around. And there he's already gone. Oh, and another hint. Hello, Fabian. Another hint for everybody else in the audience. If you run around, that's fine. If you run on stage, that is just like in real life. Everybody will be able to see you. That is, if you run on stage, you will be visible on the stream. You may interrupt the speakers because we always have a little sound when somebody is coming in. So know what you're doing and be aware that you should not just enter the stream if you don't want to be seen. It's just like in real life. If you run across stage, the audience will see you. It's no difference here as well. Fabian, hello. Welcome back. You're muted.
Yes, indeed, I was muted. Hello, Olaf. How are you?
Hi. So, welcome back. This is your second presentation today.
Yes.
And I would say it's your first that is not really on Liferay, or let's say it is partly on Liferay. Liferay is involved, but it is, well, it's also in the title. So you're sharing 50-50 on two tools, and I'm very curious to learn how they both go together.
Yeah.
How easy that is. You are working with customers at Liferay, so you are getting into issues with them. They bring performance issues to you. They bring all kinds of stuff to you, which is not in support, but as I understand, in customer success, right?
Indeed, yes. So from time to time, I have to deal with performance issues on Life Reporter installations, and Glowroot has helped me a lot. And I will show you how you can very quickly set it up and take advantage. So, well, let's go. And I hope yeah, I'm pretty sure you will try it out because it's quite easy and there's a huge benefit.
Nothing to add. Take it away.
Thank you. So here we go. So yeah, Glowroot for Liferay performance monitoring. So who am I? I'm Fabian. I'm working as a technical architect for customer success, and I've often dealt with performance bottlenecks, and Glowroot has helped me a lot with it. So Glowroot is a Java application monitoring tool. So what kind of stuff can you do with it? You can get thread and transaction profiling, so getting to know what happens within a transaction, where the JVM is spending time. It is also capable of capturing slow traces and errors, so that you don't have to look at your logs in order to guess that. You also have nice JMX beans monitoring capabilities, and the stuff you can monitor can go from pool management, cache management, those kind of things. They expose JMX beans, and you can visualize them with Glowroot. You can also get SQL query execution stats in order to determine if there is some specific pattern of SQL requests which are slow. You can also keep an eye on external calls. Sometimes you have a slow backend service which is making your portal run slow itself. And one extra thing I like to mention is Java method instrumentation. So this is the menu, what we're going to look at. Here can go to that repository in order to get the configuration I will show to you. And let's go. First of all, the configuration. So if we have a look at my Liferay portal here, there's one little thing I had to do. I had to update that variable. Oh, maybe I need to make it a little bigger. I'll put it here. And I think I can zoom in. Oh, I'm not familiar with zooming, sorry. Oh, wow, I hope it's big enough. So there is that property in PortalX, module framework property, boot delegation. So this is a list of Java packages which are imported in an OSGI sense into all your modules. So the default value you have for Liferay 7.4 is that list. And you need to import the Glowroot agent, the Glowroot agent's packages in that list, so that those packages get imported into all your modules. This is because Glowroot is going to keep an eye on everything which is happening inside of your modules, so it needs to be visible. So this is one little thing you need to add to your configuration. And then what you have to do is just add some arguments during the startup. I'm going to make it a little bigger again. So in the startup, you have to include this Java agent with the location of the Glowroot jar. And where do you fetch it? You download it from glowroot.org. Get that zip. You unzip it to your Liferay bundle, and you just have to point at that location. So now you start Liferay. The agent is attached to Liferay, and what you get is on port 4000 by default, we've got that additional graphical user interface. So this is where you're going to land when you start Glowroot. You get on the left a list of the HTTP requests which have been the most consuming. You get here a view about what it has been busy with, so you can see the average time it took to answer to those HTTP requests. You can see the amount of requests which has been managed by the server. You can filter by a specific transaction type. So you can access this kind of things. You can also access slow traces. So here, this was just after the startup of my server. There were slow traces. You can look at it. So here, for example, we had a slow control panel request. You know, it happens a lot when you've just started Liferay. It needs to compile GSPs, load things into the cache. So you can have a look at how the time was spent. Here, for example, you can see the timeline of the events which led to the loading of that page. Those details are not that easy to so yeah, sometimes it's a little too much detailed, and you can have a look at thread profiles. So for example, if we look at here combo, we can look at the thread profile, view a flame graph, and you're going to see where you are spending time in your thread. So the larger the column, the more time is being spent here. So here you can see that when dealing with that transaction, we spend half of time here, half of time here, and this can help you identify bottlenecks. Then you can have a look at the SQL queries which are being executed within your transactions. You can see total times, the number of calls, the average time. Here everything is correct. But as soon as you see one query taking more time than the others, then it's a good idea to have a look at it. You can have a look at external service calls. So here, this way I've recently discovered that we have that external call to this URL, which provides some help text within the control panel. So I've discovered you can disable it through portal properties, and you can also make it point at a CDN instead. Yeah. So basically, we now include a few links to documentation within the control panel, and they are made available through those calls. So it's a good thing to know. You now have by default a dependency to a liferay.com resource in your Liferay portal by default. So be careful about that. Maybe you need to put proxy settings, or you want to disable it. So Glowroot helps you identify that stuff, which is great. Then you can have a look at errors. So for the moment, I haven't had any, but you can consult them exactly the same way as you consult slow traces. You have access to thread dumps in a fancy way here, and you can follow gauges. So here, for example, by default, you can follow the CPU load. You can follow meter space usage. This one you really want to monitor because this is following the number of classes you're loading in Liferay. You may also want to follow stats about the connection pool. So here, for the moment, I have 10 connections in my Hickory pool. I can have a look at how many have been active. So there's been probably just one active for a very short period of time. So we had 7 at one point, and it went back to 0. Please provide for us. Yes, this is available in the repository. Don't worry. Then you can access the mbean tree. So all the JMX beans are available here, and whichever bean you select, for example, I'm randomly taking that one. You can make it available as a gauge inside of the graphs we were looking at earlier. So if you go to configuration, you can go to gauges here. You can say I want to add a new one. You put the mbean object, and here you see all the things you can monitor. So we could monitor. Let's take something interesting. Something which changes. Oh, they're pretty static, these things. So okay, max threads, for example. It's not going to move a lot, but now it is available. If you go back here, you can follow that property. It's available there. Hopla. So we've got 200 threads. Then talk about threads and transaction profiling, capturing slow traces and errors, JMX beans, SQL queries, external calls, and yeah, Java method instrumentation. I will go back to that one. So now one little example inside of Liferay. I'm going to sign in first, and I'm going to upload a few photos. Multiple file uploads, and I found a few pictures here. I'm uploading them. Ta-dam, 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 ta-dam. And I'm hitting publish. And it's taking some time. It's a bit slow. The reason it is slow is I have written some custom code which is making this process a bit slower, and I will show you how Glowroot is going to help me with that. So here we are. I'm looking at the last 30 minutes, the slow traces, and here I've got one. So it was my upload. So this upload was a bit slow, and let's figure out why. So if I look at the thread profile, this is where time has been spent in the stack trace. So we're adding, oh, I need to zoom in a little bit. It must be horrible. That must be better now. So I see we're spending some time here in the edit file into MVC action command. We go up, we're spending some time here, but the biggest part is there. We're going up, and here I see, oh, I'm spending some time during Elasticsearch indexing, okay? I'm going up, and oh, we have a slow socket read. Let's figure out why. So if I look at the last 5 minutes or 2 minutes, I see that we have that slow slow query, and I can have a look at service calls. And oh, we have external calls to this URL. 26 calls to this URL, which take 700 milliseconds on average. Okay, so going back to that slow trace, looking at the details. Is there something we have missed? So often, I believe if we've got something slow, it must be some custom code. So rip, who has made that external code. The external code comes from here. Com Liferay sample FBO custom model document contributor indexed by lat10lon. So I now have the location of the slow code, and I can have a look at it. So indeed, I've got that piece of code here. And it's telling me that the place where I'm losing time is at line 69. It's line 69. So here indeed, I've got that external call to that endpoint. So what I did here, I discovered that a custom model document contributor was added to DL file entry, and it is making a call to an external API in order to get the geographic location given the meta information which is provided inside of the JPEG file. So this is how Glowroot is going to help you identify those places in the code where code is running slow. Then let's do something else inside of Liferay. So here, this process, it has happened inside of an HTTP servlet request, but sometimes you have to deal with bad performance in background tasks, and those background tasks are not bound to an HTTP servlet request. So this slow code we had during the upload, we're going to have it during the reindexation as well. So I go to search here, index action, reindex everything. It's going to take some time. And while it is happening, I will show you how you can access to what happens during background tasks in Liferay. So this is one of the most interesting parts of Glowroot. It's instrumentation. So here is a custom instrumentation I have added. Let's have a look at it. So what I have said here is I want to instrument the method called execute on base reindex background task executor. So what is it? So this class is basically the one which is extended by all our background tasks. And what I'm doing here is I'm instrumenting the execute method. And by doing so, I can measure how much time is spent inside of that method and all the things it is going to call afterwards. So I think the reindexation is done. Yes, exactly. So let's go back here. So I'm instrumenting that base reindex background task executor method. There is auto-completion here. So as you can see, when I provide execute, it completes it. I've said that I'm monitoring that specific method. I'm saying that I want to capture each call as a transaction. If we look back at transactions here, I have a category here called web. What I'm saying here is that I want to record those transactions inside of transaction type background task. I'm going to give them a name, reindex. In the headline of each transaction, I'm going to put reindex and something from the parameters of the method. So here, this method has one parameter, which is the background task object. And what I can do here, I can display reindex with the background tasks name field. So you can display stuff from all the arguments of the method call and also from the method result, the result value, if there is one. So I have to name the timer, and I'm going to say, this is a question it is asking. What to do if it is already in a transaction. So here I say, I want to capture it as a new transaction nevertheless. You can define what is the slow trace threshold, which is useful. You can say, as soon as it takes more than, for example, 2 seconds, I want to capture all the details. And once you have done that, you go back here and you can decide to attach that instrumentation. And if we go back here to transactions, I can select background tasks here, and I'm going to see my slow trace. So the indexation has taken 35 seconds. And you can see where you spend time. And, well, I can see all the SQL queries which were necessary in order to generate that. And I can have a look at the flame graph again. So here, there is not a lot of stuff happening in the main thread. Actually, all the stuff, here it was, happens in the auxiliary thread. It's spawning another thread. And if we look at the details here again, we will find the same bad code somewhere. Must be, so here we see we're spending some time here. Right, it's hidden somewhere here. Yes, here it is. My bad code is there. It is inside of that column. So here it is again. And one thing I've discovered here is I'm making less calls to this method during a full reindexation than when I was doing it during the upload. So there's probably something to optimize inside of Liferay. I will show you that. So here, if we look at my reindex and we look at service calls, there are 9 service calls, 1 for each image. And when I all uploaded them just before, I can see that there were 26 calls, almost 3 per image. So there's probably something to optimize in the Liferay code here, because we're going 3 times in the model document contributor. So this is an interesting finding. So yes, the idea here was to show you how you can easily instrument methods in order to access to details about what's happening. And all those things in real life should help you identify performance bottlenecks on your portal. So I hope I've given you enough arguments to try it out, because this is, I believe, a great tool. And if you have a few questions, maybe I can answer.
Thank you, Fabien. My very first comment is that is a very appropriately colored flame graph.
Yes. So actually, what is the meaning of the colors? The color changes from red to orange to yellow only when you switch package names.
Mm-hmm.
There is no red doesn't mean it is hotter than yellow. It's only used in order to make it easier to distinguish package names.
Ah, okay. Interesting way to use color coding, especially in a graph that has flame in the name.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah, you got to know that. Otherwise, you don't look at the hotspot, but
yeah,
is that the different name? Good to know. Yeah. Petter is asking you to provide the portal X properties configuration to allow the Glowroot APM, adding that to the class path.
Yes. So I will show you where it is in the GitHub repo I've provided. So if you go inside of or maybe I haven't. Yes, sorry, this is inside of the git ignore. So let's add it. Going to put it here inside of config.
And while you add it here, I'll go on the audio track and say that for all speakers, we are asking to send in materials or links. That is actually one link that we can add to the agenda. In this case, it looks like it will be the GitHub repo.
Yeah.
So once we get to post-processing at all, but please allow a week or two, we will add the timestamp for this video and a link to the material to the agenda. So if you don't remember where it was, in a week or two, you can come back to the agenda and you can see the videos, just like you can see with last year's and the year before. So they all have at least the link to the video and sometimes the link to material. But this problem is now fixed, I guess, or about
It
to be.
is.
It is, yeah.
So
I cannot.
you will find it here.
Perfect.
In local portalex.
So, Peter, there you are. And you got your portalex properties. Great. So, how often did you use this in production so far?
I would say a dozen of projects. This is something I'm using very often with customers.
Mm-hmm.
I have my little email with all the instructions to set it up. I send it to them and I say, let's meet in a few days when you've set it up, and we will have a look at what it has been able to collect.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go. I even have one customer who has decided to keep it in production. I was safe. I always said let's put it on pre-production in order to capture a few metrics. But one customer was brave enough to put it in production and was fine. The overhead is quite small. You almost don't see any difference when it is running.
Yeah. So I don't know if you covered that. It is open source. Is there a commercial version as well, or is if you want to have commercial support, do you then go to the big boys and go with the regular suspects?
It's pure open source, and I think it's a pet project of some engineer at Microsoft.
Well, that's at Microsoft.
Yeah.
A Java pet project at Microsoft. That is, well,
why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, okay, yeah, sounds good. But I mean, even Liferay started as a pet project back in 2001. So who knows when this started and who knows what comes out of it.
But yeah, the thing is, the tool is so easy to use that you don't need much support. They have not made it complicated enough to sell enterprise subscription.
Well, sometimes there is just value in having the support and having or just sometimes it's the tool supporting you or the company supporting you. Sometimes it's you supporting the company to make sure it's there tomorrow. So
yes.
That's those are the two. I mean, we are working in a company that basically sells a subscription to an enterprise product and also publishes something very similar in open source. So
that's true.
And so I do understand the motivation to actually pay for services or to be around to have someone whom I can blame. I was like, hey, I pay you, so I blame you if something goes wrong, and then you fix it.
Exactly.
That's the deal. And in open source, typically, if something goes wrong, you get your money back.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you get it back twice, which is 2 times 0. So.
So here, I guess what they could do is if you look at the details, there is you can create plugins for Glowroot as well, and they could, if that person wanted, they could probably earn some money by accepting feature requests to create additional plugins.
So there is a business model for Glowroot,
Yeah, probably
as well. Now you have a link to this video in addition to the email that you send around, where you actually click on the screen and you point to everything. So I'm happy to report that that is now here. It does not look like there is any other question coming in. So I guess I don't have anything. Is there anything that you would like to close with?
Yeah, just use it in your development environment. It's really easy to set it up, and you will be able to you will definitely learn stuff about what's happening in the background when you're making calls to Liferay APIs, etc. You will discover the amount of SQL queries it is making in the background or not when it's using cache, and it's very useful to know it. And oh yes, and one other thing, look at the amount of memory which is claimed by the JVM for each HTTP query which is made against the server, and the amount of memory you claim for a reindex. The record I've seen was one single transaction which claimed 900 gigabytes of memory. So
but
yes,
not in Liferay or
in Liferay, but there was custom code involved, bad one, and you have to imagine how many times the garbage collector had to run during that transaction in order to make it successful.
Oh, okay. So not 900 at the same time, but like throughout a couple of garbage collectors.
Throughout one transaction, 900 gigabytes of memory. That is amazing.
Okay, well, just that one transaction spans multiple garbage collections sounds preposterous. So yes, I guess, yeah, you can get some insight into a running system. Now that's a close. Jose, what was that emoji? I could not see that immediately. He had some reaction that I could not see. Went away. Maybe we're a little bit too delayed. I'll walk over here. Now I'm standing in front of you. Okay, we'll see that. Fabien, thank you very much for your effort, for the information. And there it is again, but I've missed it again. Thank you for the information and the proposal to actually look at what the code does. Stay with me for a while, otherwise I'll be completely alone on stage just for the closing of the day, because now we actually are closing day number 1, but we're not closing it by just sending you to bed or, well, where or whenever you are. Here it is 10:30 at night. This is Central European time for you as well as for me. So it is time for a happy hour. That means the doors stay open, but don't party too hard. Please leave everything in order. Clean up after you. If you drop something, bring your glasses, take them outside, bring your cups and your bottles, bring them outside. Have a party and, well, party hard, I would say. Party in our happy hour. As always, the drinks are free, including the food. That's also free. Help yourself in your fridge. Stay around for a bit and talk to each other. And otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. And before I'll try to do any kind of time zone math or confuse myself with UTC time, liferay.dev/24 has the agenda. Tomorrow, basically the same time as today, Thursday, we have the unconference and that starts later. The unconference starts later than today and tomorrow. So just look at liferay.dev/24. The agenda is there, and the unconference agenda will be built in the first hour of the unconference. Thank you for staying with us on day number 1 of Dev24 2022. Enjoy the happy hour. Everything is included.
Thank you. Have a good evening.